Tens of thousands of football fans came to Highbury. Electrifying.
Yes, guys, and welcome back to the unbreakable, the unmistakable, and the always lateable TCP Live, coming at you live at 7:35 p.m. every Thursday evening on YouTube, and available ad-free on YouTube memberships and Patreon. Unfortunately, Rohan is away this week. I think he's in Cyprus. I could be wrong. He did tell me last week, guest who I'm about to introduce, he's been to Magaluf. He's been to Ibiza. This guy's a party animal. It's crazy. Here, I am here with my boy. We could have done this live. We're about a couple of miles away from each other in London.
That's true.
James, how are you, good sir? Welcome to the show.
Hey, yeah, second time in a week on the Cannon. What's going on?
You're a regular now. You're part of the family.
Thank you so much. Thanks for welcoming me.
If people don't
Rohan's
know,
just going. Sorry, say that again. What?
I was going to say, people don't know what's your new connection to the Cannon. I was giving you an opportunity to plug.
I don't know. What am I doing here? I'm joking.
Good question.
The rewatch. We've got the rewatches. I'm doing Rohan, which look, do you know what? I used to do a lot of analysis stuff on AFTV. This was like years and years ago when I first started, and over time I've just stopped doing as much. I think like it became quite a what's the word? Saturated space. Like I enjoyed it, but like there was a lot of Arsenal analysis out there. And it's actually quite nice to go back to looking at the game in that way, which I haven't done for a little while. I mean, I did, but not as much.
Yep.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. But I really enjoyed doing a Rohan the other day. He's now on his party tour. I mean, I don't know if he's like filming Geordie Shore or something, but
who knows?
Like,
Rohan Shaw. Mate, it's so good to have you on the channel. And if you haven't checked it out, please go check out the first rewatch. They're going to be doing one every single week. But it's so nice because, like, you know a lot of people in this space. There's not many people that I'm like, we're mates. And I love having a mate on the podcast. It's so nice. So thank you for doing it, man.
No,
and yeah,
that, man.
I'm looking forward to this evening. This is going to be fun.
I've got my drink, and you know when you can hear the. Do you tap the top? You got.
I've never believed in that. I don't know what that is.
You've got to, and then I just want you to hear the.
Oh,
it's just
sensational. Such a good sound. It's not a beer, but it's close.
And then I slurp. No, because that'd just be like horrible to hear. So I'm going to mute myself.
Yeah, I mean, is there an option to drink without slurping? I mean, is that?
It's quite a slurpy drink, is it not?
Possibly, I don't know. Forder, hit the likes on it. You see him. Hello, everyone in the chat. Welcome to TCP Live. We're going to chat, of course, about the big contract news at the club. We're going to talk about the strategy. We're going to talk about Tim Lewis. We're going to talk about Mikel Arteta, our manager. I'm going to ask a question later on, which I'm not going to tell you now, but I'm interested in people's sort of thoughts on it. We're going to chat Newcastle, and we're, of course, going to take our questions. But most importantly on TCP Live, we're going to have some fun. We're going to have some fun. We're going to have chat on this lovely Thursday evening. Thank you, Forder. We're doing thumbnail check as always. Petition to make the word of the day French today, Rohan. Well, Rohan's not here. Have you seen this? Rohan has a word of the day. Do you have a word of the day, James, as Rohan's understudy today?
Has he been like chucking words in his tweets? Because there are a few that I'm like, I don't know what this means, Rohan. Like, thank you, but I don't have a clue.
The one he said last week was ultra crepidarian, which... It is an elite word. It's an elite word. It mean, if he hasn't told you, it means like sort of people who talk outside of the realm of their expertise, basically, which I think is quite applicable to football. Maybe us this evening.
That's all of us.
Yeah, literally. Anyone,
every single one of us is a what? Ultra
something. He did on the main podcast this week say his word of the day was melancholy when he meant melancholy. But I love him. I absolutely love the boy, so I hope he's having a nice time. Let's start then with the news, Jimmy, that William Saliba has signed, or is signing, I don't think it's actually fully signed, but has agreed a new 5-year deal with Arsenal. David Ornstein, of course, with the exclusive, as always. David Ornstein there's GOATs, And then there's goats, and David Ornstein is an absolute goat. William Saliba commits future to Arsenal Football Club by agreeing a 5-year contract. 24-year-old centre-back entered final 2 years of previous deal, and Real Madrid among suitors, but France International wanted Arsenal stay and expected to sign until 2030 in the coming days. I mean, overall thoughts, just first and foremost. Let's do some analysis. Is this good news, James? Secondly, more serious question. 2030. That's I would not. I'm not saying I would have. A 4-year deal. Obviously, I think I would have been happy. I still would have been happy with a 4-year deal, but a 5-year deal is a very, very, very good bit of news. So yeah, thoughts, please.
I think in this live we're gonna talk about lots of things that may come across as a bit harsh from my angle, and maybe a little bit like lacking the wider context and blah blah. So I just want to, before we get into that, let's really acknowledge this is great news. Everything I'm going to be critical about,
I'm concerned
to Arteta or whatever. No, because a lot of people are jumping to Arteta's defense of some of the football, the selection marine, or whatever. And I imagine we'll get into a lot of that, his press conference, whatever. What I don't want people to do is attach a negative opinion or thought to basically everything that the club is doing. The club is doing way more right than wrong right now.
Yeah.
Yes, we haven't got over the line. Yes, we haven't got the title. Yes, but they're doing way more right than wrong, for sure. As a collective, everyone in the building. And this is a major, I don't want to say moment. I don't know if it's a major moment, because I feel like a moment is something that leads to something. But it's pretty huge when there's very public interest from Real Madrid in William Saliba. They often get their way, and they had him exactly where they wanted him in his last 2 years, and he's still committed to a 5-year deal. I can only applaud Andrea Berta. I can only thank William Saliba for backing it. And you know what? For I'm making it sound like I'm going to tear Arteta a new one. I'm not. But for all the critique of Arteta that will come later, clearly William Saliba is happy playing for him, is happy playing at this club, and believes that this team is going to go somewhere. And I need his belief more than I need the fans, really, with all due respect. Yes. I need William Saliba on board, and I need the players to believe in it, because that's going to convince me the most. So I think this is massive news, like so really big news.
You're saying William Saliba's buy-in is more important than Alex Moneypenny's? That's crazy. How could you say that? But you're bang on, and I think it's a good angle to start with, because I think it's like, ultimately what we think on the outside, we think really matters, and it does to some degree. The fans can have an impact, of course they do, in terms of like the day-to-day stuff, the fan opinion, pressure and stuff. That is a factor, of course. A way bigger factor to getting results, which is ultimately going to sway fan opinion in the first place, is the players buy-in. I mean, he has that players buy-in, and I think really also we almost sometimes, I think, view contract extensions as like a formality. Once a player's through the door, you should be getting contract extensions. It isn't. It really isn't. To be able to come to this point, not only to get the deal to a point where everyone's happy, and to get the price right and get the image rights done and get all the media stuff done and all that stuff. It's a lot of work to get a contract done, but also this should be as celebrated as if we, and it won't be, and it makes sense, and I wouldn't be, but if you think about it, it's as big as signing the player. Like you're agreeing to, in the same way we get a new player, you're agreeing terms for them to play for your club. We've done the same thing again here. We've just agreed terms for the best centre-back, one of the best centre-backs in the world, to play for our club. So it should be celebrated like that. It won't be, because it's he's already at the club, but that is a way to look at it, and I think it makes sense to me. I think with the sort of the buy-in conversation, there was a interview he did with Joe Tomlinson on Sky earlier, and I said this on the instant reaction last night. I'm curious on your take. This is great news, but it also gives Saliba space, I think, to add Arsenal go to his next level. Because I think if he get into the last 2 years, there was always going to be this thing, he would probably have not hit a plateau, but there'd be that constant rumbling of, where's he going to go? Is he going to be at his best level? The constant question marks. Now the question marks are out the way. The big narrative for me around Saliba is this. In that interview, he talks at the end, and he's asked the question of what is the biggest sort of advice that Mikel gives you at the minute. and he sort of basically says something along the lines of being less nonchalant. He uses the word nonchalant, and I imagine that's a Mikel word that he's picked up. And he says to be in every single training ground, to be as aggressive as I can be, to go to the next level. Because my feeling with Saliba, to go to that next level, which with the commitment it appears he wants to do, Saliba's 6 out of 10 game, he can still be the best defender on the pitch, and he can coast through not only games but periods of seasons. And that sounds a bit harsh, but that's how talented I think. That's how talented I think he is. I genuinely think he's coasting at points in games and still performing at a title-winning level. That's how good I think Saliba is. So for me to go to that next level, I love that he said that. If he can if I can lay down a gauntlet of winning games from centre back, kind of what he did last night with that ball over the top to Trossard, right? Like, and we'll come on to the Port Vale game as well. That's the challenge for him now. And I love that he's kind of put that question mark over his future to bed. It's just, I'm here, I'm at Arsenal, I'm here to win things. And that's what I want to see him do.
Yeah, I sort of know what you mean. Like, alongside Gabriel, he's kind of taken up the role of, I don't know, Gabriel's the leader and the aggressor, and he's just kind of alongside him doing his thing. And he's good enough to be a leader too. I know what you mean. He hasn't, it's so hard. It sounds critical. It's not. He's such a brilliant footballer. I love that he kind of looks so casual in games. But yeah, you kind of wonder, like, is he going to grow into... It's different. Away from home, he certainly fronts up like a leader. There's no question. In big games, he definitely does. But maybe it's a persona thing. I don't know. I know what you mean, though.
Well, I just think, like, and maybe watching Mosquera is a thing. And I want to be really clear that I think a player can look busy and be ineffective.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and a player can show loads of passion, but not be particularly good. It's not about just showing more, but I think he can be more physically aggressive. I think he can be more aggressive on the ball. I think he can take more risks. I think he can show us his personality on the ball a bit more. And when I watch Mosquera, the thing that really stood out to me, especially on his debut, because it's that real thing. When you've seen something, there will come a day when we move on from Bukayo Saka, and I will hate that day, and I hope it's in 20 years' time when he's walking around with a Zimmer frame. But when we do, because we've had that reference on the right wing, we'll realise, oh, there's different ways to do that, right? You just get used to a way that the right wing is. And to be clear, I don't want it to change. But because we've had this reference to right centre back for so long, and the way it's played from there, you kind of forget that there's other things you can do from that position. There's other interpretations of that position. And Mosquera, actually, for me, on the ball, in terms of the passing lanes that passing angles that he was providing, in terms of the aggressiveness in possession, I was going, oh yeah, you could push that a little bit more from Saliba. I'm not sitting here saying I want 50-yard diags from my build-up leader every time. He's so consistent, he's so reliable on the ball. It's not about that, but there is more to push, I think. And I think actually I love that we're sat here after that assist last night, because I think it's exactly that stuff. It's taking more, it's more into the middle of the pitch, it's more penetration, it's also more diagonal balls across himself. He tends to, I think, I'd love to see his passing network, but I imagine it's like 50% Odegaard, well, probably maybe 33% Odegaard dropping out into that right space, probably the right back, and maybe someone just in the centre of the midfield. Is he passing over into, let's say, a Declan Rice? How often does he find a Declan Rice in the left half space? I don't know. But yeah, I mean, that's a very, very specific thing. But overall, I want to feel that aggressiveness. I want to feel that sort of domination. I want him to show us the hunger while keeping that calm, and that's a hard thing to do. But I think he can show it, and he said himself that he wants to.
Well, I wonder. I mean, I was a little critical of him against City, and even at last night at times, I felt he gave the ball away quite cheaply. I wonder if that's because he's under instruction to try and play slightly more. Thank you, by the way, Cam. I wonder whether he's being asked to attempt a little bit more aggressive passes, be a little bit punchier, and obviously gets that assist with a great ball forward. But actually felt he'd been a bit sloppy on the ball up to that point in the game. His defending is class, although I don't think it was for the Haaland goal, if I'm honest. I think his position was a little... I'm not sure there.
I agreed with... I didn't see much discourse about that, but when I watched it back, because I was at the game and then I watched the highlights later on, my first thought was Saliba's got... Who carries it? O'Reilly?
Reinders.
Reinders. I thought you've got to step in on Reinders there. You've got to read that situation because you're in a situation where if that ball goes through, you're dead. So you can't cover Haaland because he's gone. And I thought,
sorry. So you think he should have gone?
I think he should have stepped in on Reinders earlier. Yeah, I think he should have stepped in on Reinders.
That's interesting. Well, I mean, that would have worked probably if you do it early enough. See, I was thinking of it at the point of before Reinders releases. I was thinking at that point you should be covering Haaland more because he's the threat, and I'd either back Raya to stop Reinders on his left foot or whatever, or Timber to come across. Or if you realize Ryan's about to hit it, at least you can sprint forward because you're facing that way. What he ends up doing is having to turn before he can run towards Haaland, and he's just never going to get there. Either way, I mean, look, it's not an easy thing. What would be great is if Marino wins his duel in midfield. He didn't. Zubimendi wasn't there to tidy up, nor was Rice, and Gabriel wasn't tight enough to Haaland. If any of those three happened, then Saliba doesn't have to worry. And really, we shouldn't be in a situation where they're 2-on-2 bearing down on goal. 3-on-2, maybe. Yeah, it was 3-on-2. So I don't entirely blame Saliba. I just don't think his defending was brilliant in that moment. But look, he's signing a new deal. I mean, this is really big news because, you know, it goes back to what we were saying about, you know, the commitment from him. People have been having a lot of discourse going into this season saying, does Mikel Arteta have to win a trophy this year? And I always said, rather than frame this as an Arteta in or out conversation, I'll frame it in a slightly different way. Yes, he does, because I believe this crop of players is too good. And I think we're one more season of disappointment away from a lot of them going, Real Madrid want me. Barcelona are looking at me. City are interested. Is that maybe I've given this 5 years? Is that where I'm going to go and really have my success and have my moments? And so when players like Gabriel and Saliba commit, don't get me wrong, the pressure's still on Arteta and should be, but maybe in a different way, not in a we're going to lose all our players if we don't. It's not like a make hay while the sun shines moment quite. It's more of a, no, there's a project, there's a long term, there's a longevity to this. And the question around Arteta should more be framed as, is Luis Enrique available? Not, or is Arteta, you know what I mean? It should be more about the opportunity to win, not the fear of losing other players.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And I think we were just chatting before we came on air, right? Like, the way we're moving, and we'll come to more specifically about this later, but, you know, with Tim Lewis and the sort of the progress that we've made and the amount of money we've invested in Andrea Berta and all the changes that have been made over the last sort of 6 to 18 months, that's not a club. It's not, and I'm in no way saying they're not backing Mikel Arteta. They are backing Mikel Arteta to the hilt, but they're also backing themselves. They're also putting themselves in a position in every single department where they're trying to go out and get the best in the world and keep the best in the world around and pay them the highest wages and stuff. I think it was a point probably about 22-23, what I felt like the history and the future of Arsenal Football Club basically rested on Mikel Arteta's shoulders. And I think it's a good thing. And this is, again, not to take any pressure off him, not to take any credit away from him, not to do that. But I almost feel as though Arsenal around him is starting to go, actually, no, we're going to support you, but we're also going to put ourselves in a position where if it doesn't work out with you, we kind of win either way. And yeah, in terms of does Mikel need to win, that's a kind of separate question. But, you know, when you have commitments from, and it sounds as though Bukayo Saka is in the process of doing so, you know, it shows a club that is being run, in my opinion, in a really good way. I'll also say this. I think we have to factor in the fact. We have to factor in the fact, James. We're not speaking in 2008, where the gap between the Premier League and La Liga and other leagues around the world is what it was then. We're not speaking in terms of the financials that were or the financial situation that was then. Go and look it up, people. Like, the gap between this league and other leagues in terms of wages that are possible to be given, in terms of branding and sponsorship opportunities, which is a whole other thing, like image rights and stuff that you get in the Premier League that you don't get elsewhere. It's the best, you know, from a competition perspective. It's the best. Like, it's so far ahead that from an agent and club and player perspective, the desire to leave the Premier League is dwindling. Like, you know, there's really not as many access points. Now, Saliba has appeared to have this big one to Real Madrid. Now, that is obviously one that is a big exit point. But beyond Real Madrid, for a club like William Saliba, do I see him? You probably look at Madrid, Bayern, PSG, maybe with the French connection there. But my point is, you've not got Juventus and AC Milan and all these clubs around Europe who are sort of really obvious exit strategies. So the people want to be in the Premier League, and I think this is another thing. Like not that I feel there was surprise, but there was a real worry, obviously, about Saliba going, and I get that, and I think there was a risk that he went, but we have to understand that the proposition has changed, and the what we're offering in the Premier League as a club in the Premier League is a lot better than it was maybe 20 years ago, and sort of worrying that we're going to see another Cesc situation, whatever it might be. So. Yeah, I do think that was at play here as well. Players want to be here; they want to be in this league.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said about the Premier League, and it's not to diminish the. I don't know you're not doing this. It's not to diminish the quality of other leagues to a degree, but you're right in terms of there's so much talent in this league. There's so much money in it, and let me not repeat all the points you made. I also wonder, and I want to be careful I say this, supporting a club that hasn't won a trophy since 2020. I want to be very careful I say this. Are there many, if any, guaranteed wins out there right now? Like, let's say Bayern did have the money. Let's say AC Milan, Inter Milan, PSG. When we lost Van Persie, and we lost Fabregas, and we lost Alexis Sanchez, even, there were clubs that I just thought, oh my word, like Bayern Munich at that time. I was like, you go there, you're going to clean up trophies for a few years. You go to Real Madrid or Barca, and people might say, well, Real Madrid and Barca are guarantees. Sure, but like a Real Madrid guarantee to win the Champions League this year? I don't think so. Like, I don't. Do you know what I mean? Like,
no, yeah.
Liverpool, like, I don't know. I don't know if that kind of 2 or 3, like, I'm not talking great clubs. I'm talking great teams. I don't know how many.
Yeah, and great consistent teams who do that. Who win it every single year, and it's just obvious that you go there. Like, there's not that many.
Yeah.
Even. Yeah, I mean, maybe Bayern are the only one you go, you're almost guaranteed trophies. Probably the only one. But
domestic ones, yeah.
Yeah.
Are they going to make a splash in Europe? Maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess the point is the exit doors are not the same as they used to be, and I think this is why I was quite confident that Saliba would renew, and quite confident that Saka would renew, especially at this stage in their careers as well. Like I just don't. You've got to imagine the conversations they're having with their agent. Okay, who's interested? Well, basically every club in Europe, but they can't offer you those wages. You'll be playing with, yes, okay, you've got the name here, but look at the players you're going to be playing with. Arsenal are just spending £300 million, and they can't, do that. The image rights and things like that, I think is a big thing in sponsorships as well. You've been moving away from this country. Yeah, I think it's a very different situation. I want to move on to I mean, good news. Saliba's signed. #analysis. But yeah, I think, as we say, I think it leads a gauntlet down for him, for me, from my perspective, certainly to go and show us a new level, and that to me is one of the most exciting aspects about it. As we come on to this sort of wider conversation, Zero says, I would love if former players would join the boards like Bayern. Yeah, I mean, we've seen a restructuring. Obviously, with Tim Lewis stepping down. There's a really good article in The Athletic, which sort of explains all the dynamics and stuff. A lot about sort of Tim Lewis as a character. You've got to take it with a slight pinch of salt, because who knows why that's being put out there? Who knows what information that is there? Also, one man's bolshy and arrogant is another man's forthright and competent. So it's hard to say, isn't it? What have
Henry
you made?
Winter didn't have the nicest things. Did you read?
He didn't like him. He didn't like him.
Henry Winter didn't like him.
I'm sure there is some truth to it, but it's tricky, isn't it? Because it's that balance between, would I want to go for a beer with you is a very different proposition. Do I want you running my football club? Like, do I like? It's not necessarily the same thing. Like, maybe you like. I would love to go for a beer with you, as we have many times, James. Do I trust either of us to run our football club? No, it's a separate thing. So yeah, maybe you need someone like that. But basically, maybe reflections on what Zero said there, but also reflections on on the structural changes. I think it's very difficult to offer sort of, this is going to do this, and we can only go off reports and sort of triangulation. But I think the Ben Winston one is the one that really interests me from a sort of a media perspective, and sort of maybe trying to look at Arsenal as what we do in-house, but because I think there's big strides to go there in terms of the sort of the outreach in that sense, but also from the TV rights perspective and the popularizing the Premier League and sort of putting ourselves in a position of power there. But yeah, I think that's the interesting one for me. But yeah, talk to me.
Interesting one about former players. I mean, to a degree, they maybe would maintain a standard, but I also think just because you're a great player doesn't mean like you would know how to run the football club.
I'm so sorry to pause you, having just asked you a question, but this is what a compliment that is. James always reminds me of a young brunette Jude Law.
Take that. I'll absolutely take it. Thank you so much. 6 thumbs. Appreciate it. Thank you. I might have to screenshot that actually. Do you know what? Let's do it. Let's get a little screenshot of that.
I kind of see it actually.
I'll take it.
Hang on. Let me just bring this up. That is, yeah. I kind of buy it.
Is that what he look like?
Like maybe his cousin.
Do you know what? I'll take it again. Yeah, thank you.
Sorry. Carry
on. Okay. How do I do this without getting the whole Arsenal Twitterverse abusing me tomorrow?
Who cares? They're all unemployed.
With the obvious caveat that I'm sure former pros and players know a lot more about Arsenal than I do. Important caveat. Sometimes I hear former Arsenal players' analysis of us, and I think, I'm glad you're not on the board. Let's put it that way. Now, before everyone goes crazy, I'm not talking about Thierry Henry. I actually agreed with his analysis the other day.
I don't think that's that controversial opinion, to be clear. I think that's
maybe
fair.
Not, but like, just because, I mean, this is true of some Man United players and pundits. Like, just because they were great players doesn't mean their takes on football are always great. And that's just my opinion. Like, they know way more about the game, so maybe they're in a better position. I don't know. But, like, I get it. I think, let me put it this way. I would like for former players to be closer to the club. Because when there is public critique, I'm always a little bit like, oh, you're right, but like, I kind of wish you backed us. Like, you are right. Everything you've said, I agree with here, and you're spot on. But I kind of wish there was a little bit more like backing of the players. But also, if they're not close to the club, they're only going to give their honest opinion, and also they're going to hold the club to the standard they rightly should, because they have achieved a success and a legacy, and they're like, this is where we've got the club to. We expect you to kind of get to that. So, anyway, yeah, I don't know if like players on the board necessarily does that much, but I would like them closer. Like, I loved when I think Saka and Smith Rowe maybe signed new contracts, and we had that photo with Henry and Bergkamp with them. Like, moments like that. Like, it's just little things like that that makes you feel like these great like legends and these greats of the team are close to us. And I'm not saying Tony Adams is wrong, but I don't love hearing Arsenal will never win a league with Ødegaard as captain. Now, he might be right. He might be right. He might well be right. I mean, I personally think we need more Declan Rice captain than we do an Ødegaard. He's not really saying anything too differently to the way I've said it, but I can't pretend there's not a little part of me that's like, oh, like, I'm not sure our greatest ever captain needs to pass that on to our current captain. But then, again, how can I be mad at it when it's an opinion fairly close to the one I hold?
It's really difficult. I think on the board thing, just to answer that super chat, I think like for me, it's about competence. And also there is a difference between competence and articulation. And someone who's very articulate might not be this actually the smartest person. Like, they're not the same skill. You know what I mean? I think sometimes you see people who speak very well, but aren't necessarily like actually that smart. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think the point I agree with is I'd like to feel as though the former players are closer to the club as kind of like club ambassadors and stuff. I think other clubs do that better. I think from a kind of branding and media perspective, which is why I'm quite interested about the Ben Winston thing. there is more to do, I think, quite literally from just like a content perspective. Like, I think we could popularize the brand of Arsenal a bit better, and sort of take strides with that. I mean, even people have said this season, like the social media team are better because they've made some nice videos or whatever. But that's slightly tongue in cheek. I think there's a bigger stuff here, and we can be a bigger brand. But also, I think having that, the connection to the legends in that sense, from a sort of Saka and Smith Rowe contracts type stuff. I think it's about mentorship, and I've said this before. What I love is, I think Thierry revealed it, that he was talking to Saka on the morning of the semi-final against Real Madrid, and I'm aware that Ian Wright has been massively involved with Miles Skelly and stuff like that. Like, that is that's what I want from my legends. That's the level of involvement I
Agreed.
want.
Fully agreed.
Meaningful impact, not criticizing the club, but actually mentoring the players, chatting to them, helping them with stuff, like showing that sort of kind of that paternal aspect to to the things they've been through, that experience. They know what it's like. They know what it's like to be in their shoes, and actually having that impact. Whether they're the right people to be on the board is a kind of separate thing for me. Just on the board, and we'll come to another super chat in a second. Richard Garlick promoted to CEO, obviously. Ben Winston coming into the club. Then of course, we've got Kelly Blaha and Otto Marley as non-executive directors, KSE advisors, and Dave Steiner as well, I think sort of legal counsel. But I mean, really the big stuff for me, and the big talking point, I think, from a fan perspective, is Josh's growing involvement and wanting to be more involved in the club. Did you meet Josh?
I have met Josh.
You have met Josh. Talk to us. What was he like?
Very polite. It was a media day. And to be fair, he was polite. Didn't really say a lot other than, they're going to keep going, basically. This was a year ago. This is the summer we signed Calafiori Marino, so it wasn't, and Sterling on deadline day.
To be fair, we'd never planned.
Yeah. Edu, you must be delighted you signed Raheem Sterling. Not really, if I'm honest. Didn't want him, but here we are. Oh my word! Honestly, the less said about that summer, the fact that I was even trying to look at it so positively. But hey, Josh was polite. He was cool. I mean, the Kroenkes are fascinating in general. There was clearly a movement towards Josh being the face of the club away from Stan post the pandemic protests we had, the Super League protests, all that. I'm quite torn on the Kroenkes still. When the protest was happening, I genuinely, wanted change at ownership level. I kind of knew that wasn't going to happen. So the next thing I wanted was, okay, well, can you guys at least you've got money, you've got sports franchises. I've seen a couple of them be successful now. Can we be next? And look, what do I want from my owners? I want them to employ the best in class. They're definitely doing that with Berta. They're definitely doing that with some of the players. Are they doing it with Arteta? I think he's one of. He's not the best, but he's looking like he could get there. I want them to provide the funds and resources. We can't question that. I want the club to feel like they're moving in a positive direction. I want the club to also retain its values and its DNA. Now, are they doing that in every way, shape, or form? Maybe not, but in some they are. I don't know. Give the team the best chance of winning. And I think when you look at this summer, they have. They absolutely, and this is why there's more pressure on Arteta, because no one can turn and go, well, yeah, but the Kroenkes didn't quite back him. He's been mega backed. He was backed 3 players more than I expected him to, and they were all significant signings. So that's kind of where my conversation and thoughts on Kroenke kind of end, really. I mean, what about you?
I've said this before. I think, look, I'm in no way suggesting they're perfect, because they're not. They're really not. But I think if you built an ownership league table and did it by metrics of commercial revenues, football success, academy success, financial health, if everything you want an owner to be responsible for, they'd be right up there, mate. They're not perfect, of course they're not, but I think if they'd come in 2019 when they was it 2019 when they got full ownership, or 2018? 2018, I think.
2018, yeah.
2018 when they got full. If they'd come in from then, I think we'd all have a very, very different perspective on them. We've been burned by that, and that maybe that's fair because whatever. But since they've got full ownership, and actually with what we're talking about with the board, to be honest, since Josh has become more and more involved, I think we've been better run. And this is the thing with stuff at board level. I can't sit here and tell you, oh, Tim Lewis is this, that, the. I don't know, mate. I'm reading off an Athletic article just like everyone else. But what I can say is since Josh has been more involved in the club, I felt generally he's made big errors. We've been better run. And I agree with you in terms of like the investment, in terms of the appointments. And I'm excited to see, ultimately we're moving Tim Lewis on, but there's 4 more appointments. It's more expertise at board level. Could that be could that mean too much change or whatever? Yeah, possibly. I don't know. And someone who is more informed on that would have to tell me. But from a fan perspective, I don't see how Josh Kroenke being more involved is a bad thing, considering what we've seen so far. It's basically my feeling.
Yeah,
I've also had him on the pod, and I did meet him. To be fair, as Ted Zeppelin says here.
Yeah,
I did meet him. He was
a
lovely guy.
I did see that. That did make me laugh.
He was a lovely guy. We've got. Sorry, we do have a super chat in from Eric Aith who says, James, is your support for Arteta quickly receding like your hairline? Love you both. Serious question.
Yeah. Yes. See,
we'll go on to this in a second about Arteta because I'm picking up a vibe off you, so we'll come on to that in a second.
Yeah, but you can see the truth is there. The truth is shining.
I think my hairline's it's hanging on. I'm playing wing backs slightly, but it's hanging on.
No, I've got I'm hanging in there. Shall I answer it actually about Arteta?
Let's do that in a second. Let's finish up on the board thing. Just any final thoughts on that?
Like with everything in football, there's a degree of I don't see what Arteta does behind the scenes. I don't see what these players do in training. So there'll always be an element of how much do I really know? How informed really is my opinion? But I do watch the 90 minutes and I do watch what other managers and other teams and other players are doing. So I have a reference point and I watch what Arteta does in press conferences and during games and all that. I don't watch 1 second of Josh Kroenke's work at Arsenal. I don't watch 1 second of Tim Lewis or anyone else. I only see the wider impact of it. But Liverpool have had a really successful last 8-9 years. Like it's been a really good spell for the club and they don't like FSG.
Yeah.
A
lot of them don't. Yeah. Some do.
Yeah. So what, from an outside perspective, I'm like, what am I missing? But also it's like, what, just what? Like, so the team is successful on the pitch, but and by the way, I'm not judging Liverpool fans. They'll have their reasons for it, many reasons, but there'll be other clubs like West Ham fans might well look at us and go, mate, like be grateful for the Kroenkes. They didn't move you into this soulless stadium. Yeah. And then there'll be other Tottenham fans who'll be like, at least you were backed. Daniel Levy didn't want to spend. I don't know. There's just always something else from the outside that makes you wonder.
When you're ultimately responsible, that comes with good and bad. And I think that's why I think, and I say this with Mikel as well, like on the pitch, we come back to it. It's like, if something is going right, I'll praise you. So therefore, when something is going wrong, I can't miss you. Do you know what I mean? And I think it's only fair if you're ultimately responsible for something. It's the same thing in any business. Say, I don't know, something's going wrong with a podcast. Like, I could blame someone, but ultimately it is my responsibility alongside George. You know what I mean? So it's like it's something that is happening within our realm of responsibility, and it's a I think it's a privilege and a pressure. But I think the Kroenkes deal with it well. £1,000 deposited into my bank account. Yes, thank you.
Ford is killing me, man.
The Kroenke. I'm past receding. I have about 8 haircuts left. You're actually fine, Forder, I think. It just says expected hairline receding. XR. Scott Willis, can we get onto that? Yeah, if we did like an Arsenal podcaster's hairline graph. Faisal like right up here. Rohan down here.
Yeah, let's just not.
While we're on Forder, let's do thumbnail check. As always, I have to say, this is a good one. This is a good one. We've got Saliba secured with the tequila reference. We've got the W2. We've got the tequila hat.
It's very good.
The hidden Rohan, he's told me where it is. It's sensational. And if you can spot it, fair play to you. The tequila on ice. I mean, it's the Mexican background. It's very good.
Where's the hidden Rohan? No.
It's very good, mate. For me, did you see it?
No, barely.
It's in here. That's the outline there. Just in there.
Is that Rohan?
That's Rohan, yeah. Just about see it.
Oh yeah. Okay, yeah. It took me a sec.
For
Big
me,
up Max, by the way, is in the comments. Sorry. Hey Max.
I think that's I think it's a 9.5. It's really good. Because I also like the ones that actually function as YouTube thumbnails. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but I remember the glory days where we used to sort of rack up thumbnail after thumbnail. So I'm going 8 out of 10. I remember where we used to just dominate thumbnails.
Yeah, we had
so
full thumbnail.
It's good work. It's good work for it, but not quite over the line yet, mate.
Yeah. Let's do this, Jimmy, as we move on. So you hate Mikel Arteta, basically, is the vibe I'm getting at.
Basically.
We've got a lot to discuss here around Mikel. Give me your overall thoughts on where you're at with him at the minute. We have obviously had Port Vale last night. I have some thoughts about his comments recently, which we'll come on to. But yeah, talk to me because I'm getting a vibe. There might be some concerns. Is it hanging around with Lee Judges too much? Is that the problem?
Yeah. We've been slagging him off. We've been slagging him off.
Get this manager.
I
love Lee.
Yeah, what's his signature line, Lee? He always says, "Do
you know what I mean?" Or is it?
I'll tell you right now.
Like you mean.
Says that.
Like you mean. And I'll tell you right now. Like you mean.
Okay. I mega praised Arteta after Forest. I gave him a lot of credit after Bilbao as well. Where a lot of people said he kind of got lucky and we won in spite of his decisions. Like I disagree. I think he quite clearly coached a good game and we won, and Mikel Arteta played a big part in that. And just like I feel a little bit, just a little bit, like he's doing that thing where he insults our intelligence a bit. And I don't know, just telling us things like, we have the most attacking goalkeeper and one of the most attacking centre backs. And one of our midfielders was a 9 last year. I'm like, Mikel, please, he was a 9 because he's left-footed, 6'2". You want to pump the ball up to him. Let's not pretend he was great in that position. Let's not pretend he's some like
quite good. He was pretty good.
He scored a couple. He's a great finisher. I'll give him that, Marino. Like, you know, like, and he was a 9 because you put him up front. like. Do you know what I mean? Like you made him that. Like that's not a fond memory of mine. Like, oh, do you remember that season when Marino was out front? That was great, right? I don't know. Like, you know, there's just a little bit of, you know, our CEOs have been calling me saying how they've never seen anyone do this to Pep Guardiola and it was better than the 5-1 win. And I'm just like, oh, Mikel, like, because I actually think communication is such a strength of his. And when we were really struggling, I loved the way he spoke. And I'm just struggling a little bit with him to take on his message, if I'm really honest. I'm just struggling a bit. Like, it's not resonating with me. It's making me a little bit more annoyed. What do you think?
Well, I'm obviously paid by the club, so I can't critique.
Well, of course. Yeah.
So here's where I think on that attacking thing. Here's what I think it is. There's a possibility. So my analysis is taking what he's saying at face value. So I want to add a caveat, as I always do on the show, that he may be trying to misdirect the narrative, and that's a valid. I think he's very smart with the media, so it's possible. I'll tell you what he said at face value. And I've got his words here. Let me just pull them up from the press conference. On if he's surprised by the reaction to our approach against Man City. In football, surprised? I'm not surprised about anything. No, because I don't read it, the reaction, but I do get told a little bit what the narrative is around it. If you by the way, I know that not to be true. He does read it. If you tell me this is the main one, if I'm surprised, I will be extremely surprised. With my knowledge and my know-how and how I analyze a football game, it was impossible for anybody to predict such a dominance from Arsenal throughout 96 minutes because it never happened in 17 years of Pep as a manager. So if the narrative goes somewhere else and we talk about dominance, about something else, how can you be dominant against such a team if you have a handbrake? Dominance and handbrake are two different words, but I accept everything. I will learn more to have a different vision. And when he said that, if you watch him say it, that's completely sarcastic when he says that. He's basically like, yeah, I'll learn to have a different vision. So here's where I agree with him, and here's where I think he's missing the point. I think it's valid. Like what he's saying is true in terms of the dominance that we had. Like he is correct in terms of what he's saying, and in terms of the reaction to the approach, I agree. Some of it has been going over the top in terms of like what we did. He is right. It hasn't happened in 17 years of Pep Guardiola. That should have been a massive part of the story, right? Like that it should have been post game, and it wasn't. It wasn't though for a number of reasons. That's because ultimately we haven't got over the line. I like when he says at the end, "I accept everything." Like I really appreciate when he says that because it's just like you just have to accept that you have to play your football and people will talk. What I don't like, and this is something that maybe comes onto the creativity thing, and again, I am taking this at face value, so he might just be trying to flip it. Dominance and creativity are not the same thing. Going up against a team and having loads of the ball and being in the final third and not allowing them any chances, that's all well and good. That is great stuff. But the issue that people have is, I think, largely, maybe all roads lead to Rome. George and I slightly disagreed about this last night, but I think we're kind of saying the same thing. He thinks it's not a creativity issue, but he's talking about chances being creative, but whatever. We all basically agree we don't create enough chances. We're a bit boring to watch. Like it's kind of a thing I think almost every Arsenal fan would say. And that's the point. No one's disagreeing, Mikel, that we dominated that game. No one would disagree with that. But what we are saying is we didn't create enough chances, and it just bears out basically in the numbers. I would love someone to go in the press conference next time and say, Mikel, no, I hear what you're saying about the dominance, but the creativity is, and here's the numbers. The creativity is this. Like we are below Wolves for shots on target, who are bottom with 0 points. Like there comes a point where on the creativity side, there's a question. Now, his answer there, the perfect answer for me would be this. We have signed a load of new players. We've not had loads of them around the whole time. We're still trying to work on things creatively, but I accept that. I accept that because that's what the numbers show. We are not creating enough chances. We have not scored enough goals, and we're going to work on it. That's all he needs to say. He has the right to defend himself, but I don't think he helps himself by almost missing the point, I think, a little bit. And if it is a misdirection, if I was his media advisor, I'd say I would answer the question and just be clear that it's a creativity issue and that you're going to solve it, but also make clear to the listeners that A, you did dominate and you did do something special, but B, you've been away to Anfield, you've been away to Old Trafford, etc. So the creativity will come. You know what I mean? So I think but also he can make mistakes in press conferences. It can happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But let me defend Arteta a little bit. I think the criticism that we're a boring team goes too far as well. Like I think we were good to watch against Leeds and Forest. Like there were moments against Bilbao. It wasn't great, but there were moments where, yeah, you can see this team can punch it through the lines and play some good football. He's got a team stacked of wingers. Like he literally wants to give the ball to our wide players who are typically the most entertaining, like on the pitch, in the hope that they produce some magic. So like there's things about his football that's entertaining. Even like last season, I know it was 2 Declan Rice free kicks, but we were worthy of those goals because we played some great football against Real Madrid. We didn't have the handbrake on in that game. So like I think this idea that like he's just a negative manager, like that's not my criticism. I don't think he is a defensive negative manager who doesn't want to play attacking football or can't coach it. I think when push comes to shove, he leans towards his defensive principles over trusting the group to go and express themselves. That's my critique. If Ødegaard was fit, he would have played Ødegaard. And then you're going Ødegaard, 5'9", 5'10", creative midfielder, Zubimendi, again, like a shorter, nippy, like neat player alongside a Declan Rice. Suddenly you're going, actually, you've got two more creative midfielders alongside a Declan Rice who's never going to miss his place in the team. And you're going, actually, that's quite an attacking midfield. But when push came to shove and you didn't have Martin Ødegaard, you could have gone Marino, who guarantees you the duels. Well, he didn't on the goal, but he guarantees you the duels and the height and the presence and the experience. Or you can go for Waneri and Eze, who don't guarantee you those things, but they've got more legs, more guile, more craft, more creativity, more unpredictability. And I don't think Arteta likes unpredictability. So that's my criticism. Not when he's got everything at his disposal, that he's a super negative manager, because Mourinho would never have started if Ødegaard were fit. It's when push comes to shove. It's when you don't have your plan A. I think he just withdraws a little bit. So that's my first thing. I want to make sure that like the criticism of him, at least from my perspective, that's what it is. It's not me saying it's like a super defensive manager. But in terms of press conferences, it could be a misdirect. I mean, look, we're all talking about him, aren't we? Not the players, not the results, not the club. We're talking about him a lot. But it's just like not the first time he said things that I've gone like, what? And I remember last year when Charles Watts pressed him on the goal scored. Do you remember that? Do you remember when he was talking about the most goals in a calendar year or something? And I think Charles Watts like pushed him, being like, okay, but all these other stats don't look great. And this was when Arteta was defending that he doesn't need a forward. He's happy with what he's got. And then fast forward 3 weeks when there's been a load of injuries, Arteta goes, but have I ever not asked for a forward? It's like, yeah, no, you have. You've literally like made all the public statements that a forward wasn't necessary. And okay, I appreciate there'd been more injuries at that point, but I don't frame it as, have I ever not asked for a striker? Well, you signed one. You signed one recognized striker in 4 windows by that point, or 4 summer windows. So quite clearly you weren't asking for one. And that's where I feel, it's moments like that where I feel a little bit like, come on, like, we're not stupid.
It's difficult because just to come back on that last point, we don't know whether he was pushing for it. And I can't imagine, mate, that he'd refuse Isak or Watkins or whatever. So I think a lot of that is related. Maybe he should have pushed harder. I don't know. But I take your point about the press conference thing. But also, I mean, go on.
Sorry to cut you. If I may just say, I must also acknowledge that the minute Berta arrived, he got all these players. So was that because Berta forced his opinions on him? Or was that because Arteta finally had someone who could deliver what he wanted?
Yeah.
Like all that is stuff I guess we'll never know. So I want to give Arteta the benefit of the doubt on all those things. It's just the communication sometimes I find a bit like, okay.
Yeah, I get you. And there's so much we don't know. So we are doing guesstimation a lot of the time. But there is stuff we do know. And I probably disagree with you on your first point, because look, I think ultimately, mate, we've prioritized the out of possession. I don't think that's fair, but I think we have a creativity issue. But on the Marino pick specifically, as an example of that, I do personally feel, as I said, he would have picked Ødegaard anyway. But then if you're coming up against it, the game he expected was a game for Marino, in my opinion. It didn't turn out like that, but that's the game he expected. So to use that as an example of him being necessarily negative, I'm not saying you are necessarily, but I've found that quite difficult in the discourse. What I do agree with in the discourse around it is there is a general creativity. If you just look at our creative numbers over the last 18 months, when people are fit, when people are not fit, when he picks Trossard, when he doesn't pick Trossard, when he picks Marino, doesn't pick Marino, there's a wide sample here. And I guess really all I'm coming back to is I would love Mikel just to come out and say, we would like to create more chances. We would like to, play on the front foot, but use that on the front foot. It's difficult because we don't know how much he's saying behind the scenes. We don't know how much he's trying to control the narrative. We don't know how much, because if Mikel came out and said, yeah, we'd like to be more creative, does everyone say, oh, well, you've had this much money spent and you should have fixed this before? Who knows? It's really hard to say. But yeah, the thing that I like that he said was I accept. And this is the big thing, and maybe we're to conclude on sort of this conversation. We have to accept until we win something, there will be constant questions. he could have picked Eze and we could have won 2-1 and it would have been, well, we've conceded that transition goal. Isn't it a concern? He could have, we could have the best attacking numbers in the league. Well, you haven't won anything. Whatever it is, however we fix this, until we win something, you will get Tom Garrett on pitch side saying your manager's never going to win. Like, we will. The narrative will happen. And so my feeling is
Liverpool have won every game, and there's questions.
Yeah, exactly. And then they're an audit their owners, as you said earlier. So I think, I think there's value to this conversation, 100%. And I think Mikel could have approached that press conference differently. Possibly he could have maybe anticipated the game from Man City, but I think that's harsh. Maybe could he have picked Eze over Trossard? The Marino one I will stand firm on, but the Trossard one I go, maybe. But really we're splitting hairs. For me, it's an overall creative issue.
Well, I did because one thing I do, especially in this content space where we talk a lot, is I try to be very conscious of everything I've said before. And I did a video, how to beat Man City. And I said in that video, you know, you look at Tottenham's success with the press against them a month back, knowing that playing Marino would make a bit of sense. I can understand how if you want to press them playing out the back, they got Donnarumma in goal. I can understand why a Marino would make sense. Like, there is merit to playing him, but I still wouldn't. Like, and I try to acknowledge, like, guys expecting, but I still wouldn't. And so taking that into account, I'm thinking, why? Look, it's so easy for me to sit at my stupid desk with my frames behind me and a microphone, go, I would have done this, because the decision doesn't actually fall on me. I don't get barraged with talk sport videos, newspaper articles, fan channels. It must be like a constant wave of critique. Like, I'm strolling down the street and one comment on my YouTube video goes, James, you're talking nonsense. I'm like, you know, like, and I'm totally rattled. Like, so I've managed to turn my I've turned my screen off for a sec. Anyway, so like that happens and I'm totally rattled. So like, I can't imagine what Mikel Arteta feels like, and I'm totally cognizant of that, which is why I always try and be completely fair as I possibly can be. But let me make a point I said on AFTV earlier today when we were recording previews. I don't ever remember Pep Guardiola going, "Oh, tricky one away this. I think we'll go Fernandinho and Rodri." And I don't ever remember Jurgen Klopp when Liverpool at their best going, "Do you know what? Might go James Milner right wing and take Firmino out and put Salah up front just for a little bit extra protection for Trent." Like, I don't ever remember them looking at certain games and going, "We're going to just tweak it slightly because there's a particular plan or game we're expecting." They fell on their principles being the best and going, "We want to be number one. So actually, you should be worrying about what we're going to do." And yeah, Arteta can say, no one predicted this kind of dominance against Man City. A little part of me goes, why not? Why did you not predict that you would create chances and be the better team? Like, the only reason we had that much of the ball was because they scored early. But I totally expected a game in which we created chances, in which we were going to have more of the ball, in which we were going to look the better team. Because I think we were last season. So a little part is like, Mikel, like, be the protagonist. Like, don't say, well, we needed Marino because of the game we were expecting. Say, sod the game we were expecting from them. What are they expecting from us? And that's where I'm starting to get a bit frustrated. Go win it. Go be number one. Because I think we've got the tools to be it.
I think you made a lot of valid points. And I think there's a difference between justification of what he did and making sense of what he did, which I can do, and agreeing with it. And I think there's a degree to me where I go, yeah, I think there's a protagonist flip that we need to make where, and it's not down to, for me, it's not the Marino thing. Like, that's not the hill to die on. And this, I kind of made this point. I made a different video where I was like, he's got a tag. Where is it valid and where is it not valid? And I think there's certain things he does that I go, it's complete red herring. But there's other things he does where I go, I buy that. And I think what you're saying there in terms of the setup to be protagonists, I think there's a level to go there. And maybe that City game will be the catalyst. I wouldn't be surprised maybe in future. Maybe. I also think, mate, you know, when we're on to, I did the maths yesterday, open play goals, we are on, if we go to the end of every single competition. Do you see my tweet about this?
Tweet. Yeah.
If we go to the end of the season in every single competition, right now, from open play, we would concede 8 goals. We can let the handbrake off a little bit, and this is the question mark with the creativity, and that's where we completely agree. Whether we agree on the minutiae of Mourinho or what he should have said in the press conference or didn't say, or whatever it might be, I think that's where I would say we're on the same page. Dinny, Mikel's communication is a weapon. If he can use it as a sword, he can use it as a shield. Expect certain analogies. The analogies guy will be happy. Yeah, I think communication as a manager is really key. I know we just did a section looking at it, but to some degree, like I'd never make a video about like that whole question about domination. I might mention it, and I also mentioned it here, but I would never like really focus on it, because he gets so much right. Firstly, from a communication perspective, he's also got the right to defend himself, and also what you're saying at a press conference isn't necessarily the truth. Isn't absolute, and I think some people take it at face value. I think in terms of the skill of using it, as I say in this moment, I think he's got it wrong in terms of the skill, because he hasn't really addressed the point. But equally, that for me, that has no bearing on what he's trying to do. And I can't imagine a manager as smart as Mikel Arteta is sat in those meetings they have, you know, pre and post training sessions, whatever it might be, going, I think we're creating enough chances. I really can't imagine he's saying that. I really can't.
No, but I do fear that there's almost like a give and take. Like, well, it's okay because we didn't create as many chances because we conceded no chances. You know what I mean? So, like, okay, Liverpool and City create more, but other teams create more against them too. Almost like if you made like a chances difference table, like Arteta would maybe see it as there's no difference between us and them. But it's not really how I want the game to be played. But ultimately, I want us to win. And we've been
I think that's a good way of putting it. It's like, would you rather your team created 15 chances and conceded 5, or conceded 0 and created 8? It's like,
I think that's how he looks at it. Yeah, I think that's how he looks at it. And you know, sorry to harp on about Mourinho, but again, just like one last thing. You're right. It's not even just where you selected Mourinho. I want to shout out Jordan and Forever Arsenal, who made this point about coaching attacking plays and actually having like an ability to attack whoever's on the pitch. Because by the end of the game, we had Waneri, we had Saka, we had Eze, we had Trossard, and then Martinelli, and we didn't really look like we were cutting through the lines or doing much more. And I appreciate it's difficult against a 5-5. Let's be fair, but. Okay, why can't Arsenal, if they're going to go Mourinho, Rice, Zubimendi as a 3, why can't Calafiori and Timber get really high and wide so Saka and Trossard or Saka and Eze can tuck in, and then you're going more down the Klopp model? Like, it's not, you know, there's a few ways you can. It's not like, oh, we don't have a 10, so we can't possibly be creative. Liverpool for years didn't play without a 10. I think Wirtz is the first like actual recognized 10 they've signed since, genuinely, I cannot remember. Like maybe Brendan Rodgers, like Coutinho times. Like, you know, and even he was, you know, put out on the left at times to make way for a more, you know, engine-like midfield. So is it a case of tactical diversity and a different way of attacking? I don't know. Go on.
I think there's a lot of meat on this bone, to be honest, mate, in terms of creativity, and I sort of plug myself again. I said this in the different video. There's two things. We could go down the route of I don't know, the patterns or high or transitions or high turnovers or whatever. I had two things. One of them was the usage of Gyökeres. I don't think we're getting the most out of him at all. Partly his fault and partly our fault. In terms of the runs and the spaces he creates and the gravity he creates. And I also think we're incredibly static across the last line. But yeah, I mean, you could go with the Jordan point about putting your fullbacks high, whatever. I don't know. You know, we're not the coaches. We're sat here saying, could it be this? Could it be this? Could it be this? He's got to find a solution. Like, no, it is impossible to. If you have less shots on target than Wolves, there is a problem. We may disagree on how we've got here, how this, you know, whatever, but that's where we are. So, you know, that's the thing. The only thing I'd say as a thing for Mikel is he has a new number 9, he has a new number 10 and a left winger, and he's got a new number 6. He's also not had his right winger. He's not had his main creative hub in Odegaard. So we are 5 games into the season, into the Premier League.
He hasn't had his main striker. Let's be honest.
He has his main striker. So Yeah. So in my opinion, anyway. So we have to account for that. We have to. But there's been a big sample of this, which is why he's not getting that general. This is why I pushed back to George last night, because George was really going on this. I said, yes, and you're right on those things, but when you contextualize that in the last 18 months or so, and we've seen different versions of this same story. Oh, he hasn't got this player. Well, if you've got a striker, well, if you have to accept that there's something for him to look at, I think. Oogie Boogie. Oh, go on. Quickly.
No, you need to go for super chats. I've got a point after.
Oogie's word of the day: Renaissance. Should Arteta experiment with our number 10s more with our weaker Champions League games, or do we optimize play it around Gyökeres? Well, I mean, this is the interesting thing, isn't it? I mean, obviously we saw it against Port Vale with Wanera and Eze, but I keep referencing my own video. I said this in my video. If you look at what's got us results in big games, or just in games in general up to this point, but especially in the big games, has been solidity over style, I would say. Winning big games 1-0 or 2-1, whatever it might be. That has got us results. I wonder now if the flip here will start to be something like this. Playing, because he would never 2 years ago, ever in his life have played with Smith Rowe and Odegaard. He would never have done that, and a Rice in behind. Maybe now he feels the team is at a point where it can take that. I wonder.
Well, he tried and it never really worked, did he? So yeah, maybe. I got to say, when I saw that it was Mourinho up front yesterday, I was like, oh, surely not. But then actually, I do want to see Eze and Waneri together. I'd rather see that. I'd rather see that than Martinelli get a stint at 9 where he's ultimately not really going to play. Whereas Wanera and Eze is a genuinely plausible midfield combination for us in the coming years, maybe even this season. So, credit to him for that. That was the right way to put out the team in terms of what we're trying to learn from them.
Yeah, I think there's certainly, however we get there. I just want to see a bit of, I mean, I would go Martinelli 9. I think that's an interesting way of doing it, but there has to be some kind of click in that sense, but also, all the caveats we brought in. Cam, the attack has gotten worse without Zinni and Xhaka. This is your mate from earlier. Cam, the attack has gotten worse without Zinni and Xhaka, and the reason isn't just low or mid block.
I agree. I actually agree. I think we were more fluid with Xhaka's positioning in the pockets and Zinni finding that ball through the lines.
Certainly more fluid. It's always a balance, isn't it? Because people call for more creativity or more more flair or more risk taking. That's a trade off. It's always a trade off. I say this as well with players, and George and I have spoken about this many times. I'm okay with we should platform X, we should platform Y conversations, but we have to be very clear who we're prioritizing. If we're platforming Saka and we're platforming Havertz, and we can't do all this, we have to decide who we're platforming. And I feel this a little bit with this thing. Yes, we can become more fluid. Are we willing to accept the trade-off of probably conceding some more goals? For me right now, I am, just to be clear. But we have to accept that there will be a bit of a trade-off and go into it with our eyes open and not go into it with a sense of oh well, we're just gonna score way more goals and concede the same amount. It's not.
But also, are we gonna concede many more goals? We're not that I'm not worried about conceding goals. We're not conceding chances. It's not. We are so defensively drilled, and maybe it does take a village, as they say. Maybe it takes the whole team to do every single defensive role to be this unbelievably stubborn at the back.
I suspect you don't believe that.
Not massively.
Do you know what's funny? So I saw I went on Mikel's Instagram yesterday, and he's when you got repost stuff. Yeah. He's got 2 reposts. Sounds so old then. When you repost stuff. He's got some. It's one thing is like a Spanish stand-up show or something, and the other one is a Mourinho clip talking about defensive solidity. And I was like, I'm sorry, but as a symbol, that's really funny. Manager has 2 publicly available reposts, and one of them is Mourinho talking about communication between his centre backs and DM. I was like, someone on your team might want to just put a clip of, I don't know, Peak Spain on there as well, just as a refresher.
Yeah, maybe he's on social media. He's really taking it all in this time, Mikel. Who knows? But you know what? Can I spin a positive on everything?
No.
Oh, fair enough. It's been fun. Thanks, guys.
Cheers, mate.
My pleasure. AFTV will have a meltdown if Mikel wins the league.
Will you, James?
Sure.
Have
Yeah, I'll have an absolute meltdown.
Yeah.
You know what's so funny? It's always interesting what people's narratives are, because I promise you, within the four walls of AFTV, you read the comments, everyone is like, we are constantly bashed for defending Mikel too much. Oh, you're paid by the club now, like you've sold your soul. Like, it's really interesting. Whereas on the outside, it's AFTV don't want us, like AFTV don't want Arsenal to do well. It's just so interesting, like the difference. Yeah.
There was a quote, I think it's from the BBC Director General, like an old one, like one of the ones back in the day, which maybe I shouldn't be quoting them because who knows what they were up to. But basically he said, if I get to the end of the year and I've got enough complaints from both sides saying you're biased against us from this side, I've done a good job. If it's I've got loads of complaints this way on, you're biased against the right or the left or whatever, like, that's a problem. It was in the middle, and that's basically, I think that's pretty much it. You just, as long as you get complaints from both sides, I think you're probably fine.
Yeah, absolutely.
Soon says, why does that matter if he's does what Pep Kloop? Sorry, Soon, I don't quite know what you mean. When Prime Mourinho dominated, no one said nothing. I think on the pragmatism side, I think it's possible to be a club who succeed more and be a kind of slightly more defensive style of football. I think it is possible, but then again, it's trade-offs. You have to accept that probably you'll get less of a buy-in from certain people, certainly from people who aren't at the club. You know what I mean? I think that's why Arsenal were kind of hated at points during the sort of 90s and early 2000s, because we were probably quite boring to watch. Do you know what I mean? It's like, so then why would a neutral root for Arsenal? You know what I mean?
Well, Mourinho won. Like, this is one of the most like decorated football managers of all time. I'm not saying he always handled himself with complete class, and I'm not saying his teams are always brilliant to watch, but like the year they won the title in his second stint, their midfield was Matic alongside Fabregas with Oscar, Hazard, and Schürrle, I think, behind Diego Costa. Like, guys, that's class. Like, that was not bad to watch. Yeah, they had a Spilicueta left back who could get forward, defensively brilliant. They had Ivanovic the other side who could get up and down for sure. But I mean, Fabregas, Oscar, Hazard, and Schürrle all in one team. It was bad. Maybe towards the end of the season, he'd then move Fabregas to the 10, and he'd get maybe Ramirez alongside Matic. But okay, you still got Fabregas in there. One of the most creative players the Premier League's ever seen. So I don't know, Duff and Robin. They had unbelievable quality, and they knew how to maximize it, and they always had a great striker. We don't. So I think we've got a very, very good group, and I think a lot of these players can enter conversations, like real conversations, when it comes to Premier League legacy in terms of their talent. But until they've done it, they aren't, and until they're kind of expressing that, they're not either. So yeah,
I think there is a flip to come, and I really like, as we were saying earlier, we've barely seen this group together. We barely seen Saka and Eze. I think, was that the first time they played together? I could be wrong. It's certainly not many times that Saka and Eze played together. Obviously against Man City.
The City game was for sure their first time for Arsenal.
Yeah, I think. Well, yeah. So we're still in the very, very early stages, and I suspect by November, December time, if we have people available, we'll see a bit of a difference in terms of how we're viewed. But there does need to be a flip, and there does need to be. I think it is down to the personnel to some degree. Hand of Arsenal's in the house. Shout out the Cannon Pod. Thank you, Hand. Hope you're well, my friend. Man.
He came in with the Saka and Saliba stuff. We covered it on Gooniverse News. He came in with that about 2-3 weeks ago. Saliba. Saka
we didn't discuss also. Hand of Arsenal I think was replying to someone. I saw this, and so they were saying need to get Saka done, and then he also said there's one more. I'm interested who that might be.
Can you just tell us in the comments, Hand of Arsenal?
Tell us in the comments. Just give us an exclusive live on TCP.
Tell us. Come on. He just Just write their name with like a different letter at the front of their name, so it's a bit more subtle. Yeah.
Cesar says, suppose you must bring 3 Banter era players to this squad. Who are you picking? Cannot play the same position. Mine are Guendouzi, Alba, and Ozil. When are we saying the Banter era is? I'm saying, because I don't agree. It's like 2006 onwards. I don't agree.
No, I agree. It's really 2016 after that FA Cup. 2017. It's probably 2018, 2021. Huh?
I'd say I'd say about 2021 it ends, but I'd probably go 2000 and
but proper Banter era. I mean, we still got Champions League football and won a few FA Cups.
Peak Banter era was out the Champions League, but I still think you can go back and go, because we were doing Kim Kallstrom stuff like that, but there was some poor times.
Should we say 2010? No, 2012. No, 2000. Sorry, the 8-2 is Banter era. That, to be fair.
Yeah, that's what
actually,
I mean.
You're right. Okay, should we say 2011? From when we signed Arteta,
the trolley dash summer.
Park Ji-young, Per Mertesacker, Yossi Benayoun.
Do you know who I think would cook under Arteta?
Yeah.
Bakary Sagna.
At his best. Yeah, I agree.
At his best.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. That is because I do think he fell off the last couple of years, but at his best.
Peak Bakary Sagna.
Yeah, class right back. That's a shout.
Yeah.
I always thought Koscielny would do well under Arteta. I know he had a mistake in him, but I thought he'd do well. I mean, for me, Alexis Sanchez is like the obvious one. Like, I think if you put Alexis up front right now instead of Gyökeres, then you've got everything you want. Like,
you win the league, no doubt.
I think so. Eze, Alexis, Saka. Who's your front three? I know. But you know who I was a sucker for, and I don't think they'd enjoy playing for Arteta, if I'm honest. But Rosicky, Hleb, players like that.
Yeah, those guys.
Nasri. You know, there's kind of 10s that were shoved out wide, but they went a little bit everywhere. A little bit like what I want Eze to be in this team.
Yeah.
I love those.
Hleb as a dribbler. I said a few weeks ago, I watched a comp of him, and I was like, obviously you remember the player, but mate, that close control and the ball manipulation, that translates in any era. You know, people always say, like, oh, could he play in this era? I always think if your game relied on pace and power, like objectively, the games have moved on since then. Like, it's not a debate whether the running numbers have moved on. They have. But if you have that level of tech, you can play in any era. If you can just manipulate football like that, like Cazorla could play in 100 years, could play 100 years ago. Do you know what I mean?
Santi. Yes. Yeah. Okay, so should we answer this? Alexis, Santi, and this might sound crazy. Maybe Monreal. When you look at the role of our left back, to get up and down the pitch, but also to tuck in at times and build up, like, for a pure function perspective.
Nacho was decent. Soon, this is like your girl's falls everything you're looking for, all but she doesn't one thing, like go gym, who you ditch her, no time will tell. Soon, you're gonna have to help me.
Yeah,
sorry,
me too.
Sorry,
thank you for the super chat, and we appreciate
I really appreciate the super chat, but let us know what you're aiming at there, my friend.
I was going to give you a positive, Alex. When can I give you this positive?
Don't do that.
Spin that makes everyone remember that I am actually an Arsenal fan and I do like our team.
No. You work for AFTV, so that means you hate everything the club has ever done, even though you spend all your time talking about it.
Yeah.
You profit off the club. What else?
Yeah. I love Mikel Arteta.
No, you hate him.
Oh right, yeah. Sorry.
It's a bit.
Both though. I love and hate him. Depends on what argument you're trying to win. Yeah. Right. Here's going to be my positive, okay? If, it's quite a big if, we beat Newcastle. But if we beat Newcastle, hear me out. West Ham at home, Fulham away, Palace at home, Burnley away, Sunderland at home. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Premier League games. After how many are we in now? How many?
5, I think.
We've played 5.
5, I believe.
So what? So with Newcastle, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, 6. So we could be after 11 games. Could and should expect, by the way, 9 wins, 1 draw, which is City at home, and 1 defeat, which was Anfield to a wonder free kick. That's a that's a pretty sensational position to be in. And sorry for anyone going, you shouldn't look ahead 4 or 5 games. That's exactly what Arsenal should do. They should be motivated by the potential of being in having made a brilliant start, like a lightning start. Well, okay.
Also,
the 1 defeat's annoying.
4 or 5 games, you shouldn't be looking ahead, is in like 2 weeks at this point. We're playing a lot of football coming up.
That took us to the 1st of November. No, that took us to mid-November. Sorry, it took us to mid-November. That's not that far away.
I don't like doing it. I remember the first time I was like, in the Arteta era where I was like, we have to win this game. Was the City Community Shield in 22, 23, I think it was. Sorry, 23, 24. Because I was like, if we ever want to break this duck, we need to prove that we can beat them. This Newcastle game, and people know I don't do this, it's a must win.
I agree with you.
Like it is. If you take such an L against them last season, if you want to show that you're not that team anymore, who's out? Madueke?
Yeah. Havertz.
Anyone else? Madueke, Havertz, and Jesus. We can win that game.
I agree.
We can win that game. I'm sorry, and I Newcastle, I think, have the best defensive record in the league. We'll maybe come to that game in a bit more detail in just a second, but I really feel like that's a game you've got to win. And like, I know that sounds silly, but because I would say, like, for example, I don't know, the North London derby on the 23rd of November. Yeah, it depends where we are, but you know, for me to sort of give the team the sense that we've moved on, specifically against Newcastle, we've got to be right up for that.
But I completely agree, because like, otherwise, what are we saying? That basically we want favours to win us the title. Because let's say we draw. A draw at St James's Park is nothing to get sacked over, right? But if Liverpool win away at Palace, I back them to do that. Then we're 7 points behind them. So what are we saying? Like, please, everyone, please, can you all just take some points off them? We'll try to do our 3 at the Emirates, but can everyone else try to take a few more off them? Like, what? I can't live like last season in constant hope that Fulham might have him here.
Yeah,
Fulham actually did have him twice. But you get what I mean? Like we at some point we need to come out of it. Even if they beat Palace, we can come out of it and go, yeah, we're 5 points behind you guys. But you know, we've lost 1 game. It was to you lot, so that was a direct match. And we've had City at home, Anfield, Old Trafford, St James's Park out of the way. Unless
you know when
beat Palace.
You know when you get that question about, does Mikel need to win it, whatever? Because I mean, literally every podcast I go on that isn't an Arsenal one is like, so would you sack him? And you're like, okay. The way I answer it, and this is it, if we're going to be beaten, I want someone else to beat us. Like, exactly. I don't want us to beat ourselves. And last season injuries and whatever, but we beat ourselves, and we didn't give ourselves a big enough chance. I want Liverpool. If Liverpool are going to beat us, they need to be perfect. And then you can go, okay, we made X mistake, Y mistake, because we will. If you're not perfect, you made mistakes. But I just want to not feel as though we've really royally beaten ourselves, and that's what we did at points last season.
And Alex, this isn't just words. There's proof of this. Like, when we got to 89 points, we lost to City, who got 91. You did a video, like, I think straight after, like one of those no thumbnail vids, like talking about your pride for the team and what's next. And we referenced Arteta's speech, and you know, Turkish was outside Old Trafford saying we've got a special manager, like we can do special. And we didn't win it. Like, we didn't win anything that year. But there was an acknowledgement for the effort and the quality we'd reached. Like, Arsenal fans aren't sitting there going, give him the title. Give me the title. Like, of course, there's an element of you have to deliver, but no one's calling for his head if he wins an FA Cup, finishes second, gets to 88 points, like pushes it all the way, gets to a Champions League final. But last year, for all that we finished second, it was a Champions League semi-final, it was a Carabao Cup semi-final. We were miles off it. Our eyes don't lie. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Like,
no,
there's evidence of it.
100%. And, and expectations change and there's more investment and stuff. And so, what we're expecting ultimately is changed. But I think he's been given everything he needs. And so I think for me, I actually think that what the club feel and what we feel are quite different, by the way. I think the club are pretty much like they're locked in with him. But I think from our perspective, I'm there's very few scenarios where I'm sat here at the end of the season going, the problem isn't Mikel. You know what I mean? Like, we've changed the players, we've changed the sporting director, we've changed. You know what I mean? Like, we've done a lot of things. There might be scenarios though. I mean, ultimately, if Liverpool go and get 110 points or whatever and literally do the best Premier League season ever, I'm not going to go, the problem at the club is Mikel Arteta. That's the main problem. No, the problem's Liverpool. And let's try and beat them.
And then you can ask other questions, like, why were we not in a position to pick up a Wirtz or an Isak? So what did the club do wrong and build up to that to not get those players that a year before we would have been ahead of Liverpool in the queue for? Like, so then there's other questions, but I completely get your point. And, I think with Arteta and the whole being all in, I mean, I think the club are, you're right. But with us, okay, everyone thinks it's harder to let go of something until the alternative looks quite good. And, okay, do you remember when Ian Wright suggested Saka on the left and everyone went nuts about it, right?
I do remember that, James.
That was a weird time. I promise you, not everyone, but some would have been a little bit more open to seeing Saka on the left or a different position when Madueke was ripping Forest apart. Not everyone. I'm sure most people would have gone, no, Saka's still the guy. Madueke's just having a good game, whatever. But some would have gone, maybe, where maybe a year ago when Ian Wright suggested it, it was like, absolutely not. Yep. It's when you see something that's working. And like, with Arteta, a lot of people will be really behind him. Well, actually, Gyökeres is a good example. A lot of people wanted Sesko over Gyökeres. I think, you're one of them, and I think others. But if Gyökeres is scoring goals and he's doing this, we're all getting caught up in the hype, aren't we? It's like, let's go. So until you see something good, you're swayed, aren't you? No matter what you let go to do it.
Yeah, and you look at Enrique, it's like people go, well, I couldn't be us. But it's, you kind of have to look at your own garden. And obviously, we've spoken about a lot of the stuff in our garden. Whole milk, maybe we need to change our content creators now. # Alex out. I think that's completely fair. Dan Reznik says, sorry, Dan, I probably butchered your name. I'd love to see Alex and Turkish one-on-one. Two well-spoken guys with different perspectives, maybe in another universe. I would love that, genuinely. I really respect Turkish. I think they're very different view. It's very bizarre to watch someone and you're like, I largely disagree. Like, you remember that rant he had that went super viral? Was that after the United game?
Yeah.
So
like about the legends on the murals and stuff like that.
Yeah. So I don't connect with what he's saying, but I was like, wow, this is really authentic. This is really like powerful. I can see why it's gone viral. I can see he connects to loads of people. I think he represents the fan base really well, to be honest. I'd love to have that conversation. Maybe we should do it.
Yeah, fine. I'll chat to him. Cool. I think
come on your pod or something. Because we've definitely got points of difference.
Yeah, I think that'd be really cool. I do think, like, when I'm on Forever Arsenal, it's, I have a very different perspective to Lee, who has gone and driven to the game, the away game, and then driven 4 hours back after that kind of defeat, and has maybe done it off 2 hours sleep and has kind of whatever. He's experienced the game in a different way. And Turkish maybe sees it through a slightly different lens to what I do. So it is quite fun on a weekly basis, having my thinking challenge. And a lot of people come to me and they go, oh, James, like, you spend too much time with those guys. Like, you would have been more positive. And I'm like, no, like, I don't know. I like to think I'm genuinely not warped by the thinking of others. If they make good points, I learn from them and I go, oh, that's actually really interesting. I didn't think of it that way, and maybe I should think about it more that way. It's just taking on more information, but yeah.
I regularly listen to in all things. Like I'll listen to people politically who I really don't agree with, and because I think it's interesting because you also realize that it's often frameworks. They've got like a framework of how they view things, and then everything comes from that. And you recognize, okay, so what's my framework? Like, and then you start to break that down and go, okay, that's how I'm viewing everything. So obviously, it's like if you had like a victim mentality, everything will appear, every situation you're in will appear like you're the victim if you have a victim mentality. So your whole analysis of everything is just, I'm a victim. But if you recognize that that's the framework, you can kind of open that up. And I think it's true in football as well. It's like if your whole framework is this, you will view it like that. And I'm like, okay, well, wow, I've definitely got a framework. What is it? How do I unpack it? Where's it come from? Can I change it? Can I move it around? And obviously, you're always going to have biases and the just your natural kind of way you view things. But yeah, I completely agree. And I listen to Forever Arsenal sort of every so often, and it's great. I don't agree with a lot of what's said, but I think it's great.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. Thank you.
Alex is too woke, says Sham. Fair enough. Autocorrect FFS says soon. I mean, it's like your girl. I'm guessing you're saying does everything for you, and she doesn't do that one thing. Would you walk away with like Arteta with attack? I'm gonna assume soon you're saying if Arteta doesn't fix the attack, would you walk away? That's what I'm gonna assume.
But like, okay, let's use the love analogy. What do they say? Don't accept less than you're worth, right? So let's use the analogy of your girlfriend, and then compare that to something that's like, I don't know, like the title. And this is, with all due respect, soon, it's not the best analogy, but let's run with it because you brought it, right? I assume winning the Premier League is you want to marry her and have kids with her. I don't know, and start a family, maybe, right? That's what you want to do with the partner that you're kind of evaluating everything with. And this doesn't sound particularly romantic, but not addressing the attack for Arteta would be the equivalent of something quite significant in a relationship. I don't know what that is, but it would be the equivalent of something pretty important.
It's like
you should marry her and have a family.
Yeah, it's like going, all relationships are compromise, but we have to move to Nicaragua, and I will not compromise on that. It's like, yeah, I will compromise, but like that's a pretty mad compromise. Like just going away from all of my family, like I have to change my job, like, and like I think that's as big as the attack is for us. It's a big thing, but it's also
that's a really broad thing. The attack.
It's not as black and white as we can or we don't. It's difficult, and we have at points operated in a really good way in the attack, and we've also, as we said, we haven't seen a lot of it. But yeah, it's
just quite a broad, like all title-winning teams must be good at attacking, good at defending. I know sometimes we go, Liverpool's defense isn't all that, but we're talking by the standard of winning titles. They clearly have a very good defense. They got Virgil van Dijk. You know what I mean? It's like.
Yeah, quite good.
Arsenal have to have some semblance of an attack. Turkish made a great point on the preview today, right? Speaking of Turkish.
He didn't, because he doesn't agree with me on everything, so he can't have a good point.
Of course, absolutely.
That works.
He said there were 4 teams last night who played League One opposition. Arsenal had the most possession of all the Premier League sides, and they had the least shots. So Tottenham, City, someone else. We had the most possession of all those other teams in our game, but we had the least shots. And you're like, that, I feel like that kind of sums up Arteta. That's Arteta in a complete and utter nutshell, isn't it? Like, even against League One, this is who we're fogging up. Like,
this is who we are, guys. These are the fogging standards, guys.
Like, I thought that is hilarious.
Yeah, and I guess, like, this is a generally pro Arteta podcast, right? And we do critique him, even though apparently we don't.
Not one bit.
My initial response is like, well, yeah, but it's like, well, hang on, that's your framework, isn't it? That's the sort of I want the manager to succeed framework that comes down. And it's really hard to try and evaluate stuff fairly. It's really hard.
Can I just address a comment? Azza says, what do you mean? Again, we're second. The attack isn't that bad, just could be better. Azza, that's exactly the point. I just said about Liverpool and their defense. Like, what? Of course, Arsenal have a good attack. Of course, they can score goals. But the problems we're going to come up against, probably no one outside of the top three is going to face. Regular mid and low blocks, that kind of thing. Not with the regularity we do. So we need to have different solutions to different problems. But also, we're talking about our attack being to a title-winning standard. Doesn't have to be the best attack in the league, but it's got to be to a title-winning standard. Can people right now tell me, yeah, our attack and our football and our interchange around the penalty area and the way we create chances, can people tell me that they believe that they confidently feel that that's at a level of a title-winning team? I can't. I think almost every other phase of our game is, but that one, absolutely not. I don't remotely feel confident that we create chances at the rate that a team trying to win the title do or should.
I agree. And I think defensively, we are like beyond title winning.
Yeah. We're like we're beyond. Like, okay, that's enough. You're good. Like, don't worry.
Yeah. No, I agree. Pool Town mentioned. Let's go. I played Pool Town under nines, mate. Right back.
Okay, nice.
My claim to fame.
Congrats.
Is when I
You're
left.
Right back.
I was right. Of course I was. I was the worst player on the team. I can't. One day I'm going to get all of us together and we're going to play football in real life, and it's going to ruin our careers.
Yeah, it can be. People will be like, "Oh no, like you guys dare have an opinion?
You take opinion of these guys. You can't even kick a ball."
Can we not start this narrative?
1% better compared to the Premier League. You know what I mean?
Can we not start this narrative? Because we actually did play, and I don't want, because then everyone's going to think, already people in the comment sections of videos sometimes go, but you've clearly never kicked a ball. I'm like, what? Like, why do you say that? Because like, I've played all my life. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
But yeah.
But yeah, it's kicked a ball at a professional. If you're saying a professional level.
Yeah. Never.
If you reduced all the pundits, if you said the only people who can talk about football are people who played at a professional level, have fun. Have fun, mate. That's a terrible media space. That's a really horrible one. Jimmy, we'll finish there. We'll finish with your score prediction for Newcastle, please.
I actually think we're going to nick it. I think we're going to win 1-0. I don't think it's going to be pretty. I think he's going to go Marino in midfield. I think I'll have plenty to complain about. But if we win, I won't. I'll just shut up and kick it down the road to next week.
Knowing Mikel, he's gonna be unchanged, isn't he?
And if we win, the press conferences will be legendary. He will just he will sit there. Just smug as anything. And you know what? I'll let him have it.
Let him have it.
If
he wins. As long as he wins. Keddy says James didn't fare well in football challenges. What was this?
No idea. What football challenges, KD? Big up KD. He met us at the airport when we were leaving the States a couple years ago on tour. But I don't know what you mean about football challenges. I did quite well in my football challenges for AFTV, but that was behind a paywall when they did AFTV VIPs. I can't imagine anyone's really seen much of that. Yeah.
Who wins in a penalty shootout, me and you? 5v5.
Like, well, I don't know. I've never seen you play.
That's true.
Who wins
100 meters? I reckon you.
I don't know.
Especially at the minute, you're looking good.
Thank you. I've been running loads. I actually did an 8K just before I jumped on this stream. Because I've been running.
Nice, mate.
I've been running loads. Yeah, it's been
actually,
quite fun.
Do you know what? 100 meters about 50 meters about myself against you. I
imagine you're rapid. But I never saw you play football.
That's very true.
Sorry.
Right. Dead Zeppelin says I'm about 3 months late, but Alex, you promised us an FM stream. I will do it. Actually, the new game looks sick, so we should do it.
Do you know what? I was going to do something similar. I was going to do some FM streaming.
Should we do it? Should we do it together?
I think we should do something. That'd be fun.
I love.
Actually, what can we? Should we do like manager and assistant manager or something?
Yeah, I'm so down. Genuinely.
Really fun.
I'm moving house at the minute, so I'm a little bit busy. But like after next week, sign me up.
The game's not out for like 2 months or something. So
perfect. So when it's out, shout me. We'll get on it.
We'll make a bit of content. Yeah, Forder was looking into doing some Football Manager stuff as well.
Oh, I see. Okay. Maybe we could guest on Forder's.
I mean, well, it depends. I think you can do a league where we're all managers, or we could do
really?
like a season where we together run the team.
Oh, really? I think I want to be your assistant. I'm going to be like Heinzer.
Because then I'm the one who's going to get abused in the fan camp.
I'll do the press conferences. Thanks, everyone, for being here. James, I can't imagine people don't know who you are, but just in case there's 2 or 3 people who don't know where to find you, where can they find you?
That's very sweet. Yeah, I'm on AFTV every now and again. My channels have got the Gooniverse News. We're even doing a clips channel in case you can't be able to watch the whole hour. So there we go. I'm here on Cannon Podcast. You know what? I'm kind of like doing a lot more different things now, which is nice. I like to mix up the space. I'm chatting football on. Jude B is hilarious, but thank you.
I think there's something really interesting in like getting like me and Turkish together, or like George and Lee Judges. Get George and Lee Judges on a stream, please.
The thing is, Lee Judges he's a teddy bear. He's like the nicest guy ever. Like, because George will make a great point, and Lee will maybe fundamentally disagree with it, but go, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, like you mean. Nah, you're a smart guy, like you mean.
Yeah, there's definitely something in there. I had I did have an idea for a debate podcast. Because I don't know if you know, there's these thing called podcasts. Like, and I really feel like people should start making them.
I'm not sure they'll take off.
I can't even.
I'm not sure they'll take off, mate. I mean,
there's a real gap in the market for an Arsenal podcast.
An Arsenal podcast. It's so fun. I remember having a conversation with you about like 2 years ago that podcasts were oversaturated, and it's like doubled since then.
Tripled. Yeah. So, but I did think, there's some great people who get in a room debating really good stuff.
If you did a live one as well, that'd be. If you did it, that would be sick. You know, like do you know Zach Gelab?
Maybe
he does like he gets everyone like a white room and does like a debate style thing. But you could do that for Arsenal. That'd be really cool.
That'd be very cool. I'll look into it.
See if Mr. He who must not be named wants to fly over. Thank you, Tim. Drink your water, everyone. Make sure. Thank you all for being here. Thanks so much for watching. As always, make sure you're subscribed to the Cannon Podcast, wherever you are listening or watching us. Make sure you go subscribe to James as well. He says he got through the shift with you boys on my headphones. Yes, Lail or Lala. You guys should play foot golf. That'll be that. You should do in real life stuff, mate. Come on.
That would be fun. That would be fun.
Be cool. Thank you all for being here. Thanks so much for watching. Thank you, James.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. It was fun. An hour and 40 years flew by. Yeah, it shows you we had some fun. But no, I appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me. And look, like whenever we sort of talk about Arsenal, the good or the bad or whatever, it's never that bad. Like, trust me, I don't go away stressing about this. I go away and enjoy my life. And if Arsenal win, I'll be really happy next week. That's kind of how it goes.
Just football. Yeah. Thanks all. Thanks for watching. And thanks. Say it with me.
Oh, for keeping
it Arsenal.
Keeping it Arsenal. Football fans came to Highbury. This was one kind of queue the ladies thoroughly enjoyed.
Electrifying. Ferocious.